From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN Noon News.
Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us on the Noon News. I'm Augusta McDonnell. We're learning new details today about the shooting inside Yellowstone National Park, including the name of the suspect. 28-year-old Samson Lucas Fussner was shot and killed during a shootout with park rangers. A ranger was injured. MTN's Haley Monaco found out Fussner was already on law enforcement's radar after allegedly threatening violence.
The dispatch call comes from July 4th with a Park County dispatcher alerting Cody area law enforcement that a dangerous individual could be heading their way.
Cody units, I'm sending you guys a message for a bolo about an armed and dangerous suspect.
When shots rang out on the 4th of July at Canyon Village, the suspect was already a name familiar to law enforcement.
Name is Samson Fussner.
Samson Lucas Bariah Fussner, a 28-year-old man from Milton, Florida, had allegedly made several threats the day before. Details communicated to officers over this Park County, Wyoming Sheriff's dispatch during the overnight hours leading into Thursday.
He did threaten to shoot up a fireworks show somewhere in West Yellowstone or Montana.
At that time, it was believed Fussner had left the Canyon Village area.
Last seen leaving Yellowstone National Park, headed in an unknown direction.
While little was known, what was that he was dangerous.
He is believed to have a pistol and possibly other larger weapons in his possessions. It looks like he held a female hostage at gunpoint and threatened suicide by cop.
MTN has not been able to obtain any more details about those claims. Fussner was next spotted Thursday morning, shortly before he was confronted by rangers and allegedly began shooting. Rangers returned fire. Fussner was shot and killed, and a ranger was injured. Fussner's car is all that remained in the parking lot after authorities told guests to leave.
Nissan Rogue.
And that investigation still continues, with a possible motive still publicly unknown. In Billings, Haley Monaco, MTN News.
We're also learning new details about what appears to be a Yellowstone National Park Xanterra employee badge with an end date of September 15th, 2024. We reached out to the Xanterra to try and confirm if Fussner is indeed an employee there, but our calls have not been returned.
Good Tuesday afternoon, everyone. Taking a look at the radar around Montana, Idaho, and Wyoming. It has a fairly clear sight. We have a few clouds here and there, but nothing on the radar and only a couple of clouds. That is all that we have. And as you can see, there's a theme outside. It is definitely a warmer day. Only my hometown of Dillon is not in the 80s or 90s right now. Relatively cool. Dillon's so cool. 78 degrees. It's 82 degrees right now. Livingston and in Bozeman. Look at Glasgow and Jordan already in the lower 90s. Billings is 86 and Sheridan is 88 degrees. Everyone warmer than yesterday by handful. Our complete 5-day forecast in a few minutes.
Two tragedies in one day as Glacier National Park officials investigate two different drownings in separate areas of the park. A 26-year-old man from India who was on vacation with friends drowned in Avalanche Creek on the west side. He was last seen going off the trail and into the creek, and witnesses saw him swept away in the current. The second happened 10 hours later when a 28-year-old man from Nepal went under the water 30 yards offshore on Lake McDonnell. He never resurfaced. And in Columbus today, police are asking for the public's help in finding a missing man. 24-year-old Tommy Freeman was last seen on Wednesday, July 3rd in Itchkapee Park. He's 5'7", weighs 135 pounds. Freeman was last seen wearing dark clothing and a headlamp. While the circumstances around his disappearance are a mystery, one woman named Rosina, who was at the same campsite as Freeman, says she remembers him camping with a woman. She was at the campsite across from Freeman's. Rosina said she saw the pair around 8 o'clock on Wednesday night and last saw him around 11 that same night. The next morning, nobody was at the tent. That's when Rosina says she remembers a large law enforcement presence converging on the park.
Police, the sheriff, the police, there are like at least 4 cop cars here. Pulled up straight to that camp. Like, it's not like they were driving around camp. They went straight to that camp.
Columbus Police Chief Aaron Euchre did confirm search and rescue have canvassed the river, but with no luck. Anyone with information regarding Freeman or his whereabouts is asked to call 911. School District 2 officials in Billings are aiming to bring much-needed improvements to Dallas Stadium. The stadium has been around since 1929, hosting games and even championships for all of those years. But now the stadium is beginning to show its age. The steps leading up to the bleachers are crumbling away. The track is also covered with bumps, while the locker rooms have seen their fair share of damage. Add it all up, and officials say a renovation project is needed. And it has officials reaching out to the public for help. They're holding a tour of the facility this evening at the library as they look to gather community input on what should and can be done.
The turf looks amazing. It always looks good when you have green grass year-round. Unfortunately, that's the bright spot in all of this.
We have to look and plan for the future today and not, oops, we should have done that.
Remodel of day lists would be paid for. That meeting again tonight at 5:30. Workers impacted by the closures of 2 lumber training and support services. The $2 million grant awarded by the U.S. Department of Labor to the state of Montana invests in those services to Pyramid Mountain Lumber and Roseburg Forest Product workers. The grant will help dislocated or relocated workers and those indirectly impacted by partnering with local organizations to deliver career services and transit resources. Counties able to access the grant funding include Missoula, Flathead Lake, Lincoln, Mineral, Powell, and Sanders, as well as nearby American Indian reservations, including the Blackfeet and Flathead. For the second time since 2021, a lawsuit is challenging the district map for the officials who regulate utilities in Montana. This time they're claiming the new lines were drawn for political benefit. MTN senior political reporter Jonathan Ambarian has more on where that suit stands now.
During the 2023 legislative session, the Montana legislature redrew the district lines used to elect 5 members of the Montana Public Service Commission. Plaintiffs are challenging that decision, saying it was based on partisan gerrymandering. The PSC districts hadn't been updated in almost 20 years when a federal court ruled in 2022 that they needed to be adjusted to make their populations more equal. That year's elections were conducted using a court-drawn map. In 2023, lawmakers came up with their own plan. It switched from dividing districts by county to using state legislative districts. And it split Montana's largest cities between 2 districts. The plaintiffs said the map was intended to ensure Republican dominance on the commission and meant other voters didn't have a fair opportunity to influence election results. Lawmakers denied the map was an intentional gerrymander, and the state said there were legitimate interests behind it. Monday's hearing focused on whether the trial in this case should be before a jury. The state asked for a jury, saying it was appropriate for them to decide factual questions like the intent of the legislation.
Even if the court said, okay, I'm not going to put that one to the jury, that one's for the judge, causation is clearly a fact issue. And whether there was other justification for it is clearly a fact issue.
Plaintiffs said there's no history of gerrymandering cases going before juries, and the questions at issue are more appropriate for a judge to decide.
The court is able to instruct the jury on what crosses the line into unlawful discrimination. There is no pattern here for instructing the jury on how much partisanship is permissible in a political gerrymandering case.
Regardless of whether a jury is called or not, the trial is scheduled to start December 10th. Judge Chris Abbott has said he hopes the case can be resolved in time for the next legislature to take action. 3 seats on the PSC are open in this year's elections, the first held under the new district lines. In Helena, Jonathan Ambarian, MTN News.